Hello, everyone. This is Beastly Eel, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking about my personal top 10 Marvel superheroes. There were so many to go through. So many, it was very tough to narrow it down to just 10. Um, but for me to narrow it down to 10, obviously wasn't easy, but I tried to pick ten heroes that meant something to me, meant something in their universe, and just overall it's a combination of like their personality, their power, and their sheer teamwork with the rest of the universe. So let's get right down to it. We're going to be talking about number 10 on this list is Carol Danvers. So she's gone by many names. More recently, she's known as Captain Marvel. So the real story, or I should say the original story in the comics, was she was a pilot just like she was before. She teamed up with Captain Marvel, who then somehow gave her her powers, and that's when she became Miss Marvel. When he died, she took on the mantle of Captain Marvel. She's also going by many other names, Warbird, Binary, and all this other stuff. Her powers include superhuman strength, speed, stamina, energy absorption, and projection. And if she absorbs enough energy, she goes into this um, what she calls binary form, which is just an enormous output of energy just flowing through her. I mean, she also has the ability to fly, and even though it doesn't say so, she also is able to travel galaxies. So she's able to withstand Earth space's vacuum, the vacuum of space, I should say. Sorry. Um, so the reason why she's on here is because she's actually influenced a lot of characters. So personally, I got introduced to her when she was Miss Marvel. Um, she teamed up with the Avengers, obviously, helping them out. She also um, was the reason why one of my favorite characters existed, specifically 90s Rogue. The reason why I say specifically 90s Rogue is because during that time, was it 90s? Was it 70s? Am I completely wrong? Anyway, nope, it doesn't say the day. I mean the year. Oh well. So anyway, Rogue actually took Miss Marvel's powers to the point where she kept them for herself. But overall, she's a phenomenal powerhouse. Um, am I? I'm not super thrilled on how they've portrayed her in the MCU so far, personally, but she's still a decent character and has some great um, area to improve on. And just she has so much potential, and her abilities are just phenomenal. Able to take out threats that the Avengers together had trouble going against, which is nice to see. So that was number 10. So let us move right on to number 9. Number 9 on this list is a lawyer. Spoiler alert, there are two lawyers on this list. This particular one is a lawyer who is I don't think he's a defense attorney. Is he? I would think so. Um, he works in Hell's Kitchen. You should know him. He's Matthew Michael Murdock, aka Daredevil. Daredevil is on this list because he's basically the Marvel's version of Batman, in my personal opinion. Very different, obviously, because Matt Murdock, blinded as a child, learned how to see with his ears, learned how to fight because of the hand. They trained him, um, and he became a vigilante. So when he couldn't win in the courtroom, he'd come in and basically beat some ass at night. He's, very skilled in detective work. He's excellent fighter. He has his batons. Specifically, in the comics, if I remember correctly, it was during the day. It was his nightstick. I mean, not his nightstick. Sorry, his walking cane, because he's blind, using that. And then at night, using having all the cables and everything else to fly around this, swing around the city and beat up bad guys. He's on this list because he is, well, he's supposedly the man without fear, and I do believe that. But he's just a man. He's a man with, uh, well, with a disability, basically. He's blind. And using that to his advantage and being able to take down criminals like the Kingpin and Bullseye, and others like that. Able to do so much um, that many wouldn't even think he could do just because of who he is. But yes, he's definitely a good character that I thought deserved the spotlight. And other than the one movie, his TV shows have been phenomenal. Um, Charlie Cox playing Matt Murdock was phenomenal. I'm hoping he gets to play him again because he was that awesome. And just in general, he's just, for being just a regular human, being able to do that much to so many and making sure that his body's at full physical peak is just incredible. And having him be able to be a lawyer during the day as well. Just overall, just amazing. That's why he's number 9 on this list. All right, we're moving right on to number 8. Number 8 is Captain America, specifically Steve Rogers. I know what you're thinking, why is he so low on this list? Well, let's talk about all the good things first. So he is basically the embodiment of American pride. He fought in World War II, took out Hitler, was able to take down the Hydra regime, which was part of the Nazi Party, which had Red Skull leading Hydra at the time, defeated them, got frozen, thawed out decades later. I think now in certain areas, he's um, I believe he was, over a century at one point, in certain aspects. But that being said, that's neither here nor there. Captain America um, was a nobody. He was just Steve Rogers, small little run, heart of gold, wanting to help out his country. He experimented on and became a super soldier. Gave him superhuman strength, speed, regeneration, all the above. He was also given a vibranium shield, which basically absorbs all physical attacks and bounces off. He was the original superhero. He's been around since who knows how long. Actually, I do know. He's been around since 1941. One of the oldest superheroes of all time, the embodiment of America, and he's still become relevant to this day, even a century, almost a century later. He is still one of the top superheroes. Um, he's just able to portray the embodiment of being a hero, doing what's right all the time as best you can, even if it might be considered wrong by the government standards. Um, the reason why he's so low on this list is because he's old. I know it sounds awful when I say it, but certain gimmicks are just they're tiresome. Not understanding certain pop culture references, um, being called ancient. I mean, again, that's just a personal thing for me. It bothered me a little bit, which is why he got low on the list. But he's still a great Avenger without a question. The first Avenger, actually. All right, that's number 8. Let's move on to number 7. Well, number 7 on this list is Tony Stark, specifically Iron Man. Iron Man's on this list because of for multiple reasons. Uh, he's not a big complex character in the grand scheme of things. He was basically a B level hero until the MCU took off, and that's when he became an A-lister. Personally, Robert Downey Jr. really made Iron Man better than what he actually is. Um, in the comics, he's just kind of there, and I don't mean it that way. He's just an arrogant pain in the ass, um, and not so much charismatic as Robert Downey Jr. So the reason why he's on this list, obviously, is because of his immense intelligence. He has done so many things, created so many suits. I mean, his first suit was made out of scraps in the desert to just try to keep him alive from the shrapnel going to his heart. And later created so many different types of suits for so many different reasons. Then obviously his most, I don't think it's his most recent, but his like nanobot one, that's from the movies. But there was also the cosmic suit, I believe. It's like this ectoplasm. It kind of forms around him. It was in the, I remember seeing it in the death battle between Iron Man versus Lex Luthor. But that being said, he's incredibly intelligent, obviously wealthy, was a weapons manufacturer until he realized it was messed up and got out of the game, which is ironic because then he then created one of the most powerful weapons of all, which is his Iron Man suit. Created so many different models, um, energy blasts. He's done so much for the Avengers, creating technology for them to be used and everything else, and it's just very incredible to see. Because realistically, if I remember correctly, he is just a human. I believe so. Yeah, just regular human. Um, which is incredible because he's so intelligent. He's got a genius level intellect. I mean, he is able to understand so much and helps create, unfortunately, one of the more powerful villains the Avengers ever had to face, which was Ultron, with Hank Pym. In the MCU, it was him and uh, Bruce Banner. But that being said, super intelligent, created his suits, just amazing overall, and just his engineering ability is unmatched, in my opinion, in the MCU. That's why he's number 7 on this list. So we're going to go right on to number 6. Number 6 on this list is another genius. Um, he is been around for a long time. He's got 3 other people on his team. He's super stretchy. I'm pretty sure you can guess it from now. It's Reed Richards. Sorry, Dr. Reed Richards. So he is a scientist first. He is an inventor. He's ironically considered the smartest man on earth. Um, Debatable in my personal opinion. Um, he's mastered electrical, mechanical, aerospace engineering, electronics, chemistry, physics, biology, and who knows how much. And he also understands cosmic radiation, even though that was not the case before he got hit by it, and then became Mr. Fantastic, Mr. Stretchy. He's on this list because he is incredibly intelligent, matching Tony Stark, using his technology to try to benefit the world. Also created the ability to transfer to other universes and talk with the multiverse. In fact, there is even a council of Reed Richards that have teamed up together to kind of help out the universes. Very similar to Kang the Conqueror, but minus the destruction. In fact, many of them were able to get the Infinity Gauntlets, and where they found that the Infinity Stones only work in their own universe, which is interesting to know. But incredibly intelligent. Fought against many people. Fighting wise, he's not that great. Not to say he can't hold his own in battle, but he is more of the scientist. He's more of the let me figure out how we can complete this. Let me figure out a solution that I can create, which is why he's a little bit lower on this list because of his unfortunately ability to help out in an actual fight, where he is able to create a lot of solutions, which is excellent and is needed. But power wise, he just doesn't really do much, unfortunately. Not that his abilities aren't powerful, it's just he'd rather focus on the science than being the stereotypical superhero, I guess is the best way to put it. All right, we're moving right on to the top five. The top five are, they're all different. So sorry, number five in this list is Tikal. Tikal was the prince of Wakanda at one point, and then became the king um, of an African nation called Wakanda. Um, their society was kind of separated from the rest of the world. They had advanced technology thanks to vibranium. That a vibranium meteorite kind of smashed into their land and was able to help them, well, basically thrive. Because of that, they kind of segregated themselves from the rest of the world. Um, and later on, when he was part of the Avengers, he then opened up Wakanda and their technology to the rest of the world. Um, so let's talk about him. Um, Actually, very smart, incredible technology. I know I said Daredevil was probably considered Batman. This one's pretty damn close too. Um, he has a suit, a vibranium suit that's able to absorb energy. After a certain point of being absorbed, he can actually pulse that energy out against his opponents. He has vibranium claws to help him climb. That's just his suit. His actual abilities come from this plant from his homeland, which apparently was affected by the vibranium in the ground, which was, they claim it was the god they pray to, which is the panther god. But anyway, he takes that energy and gave him superhuman strength, flexibility, durability, speed, um, and I believe he has a slight healing factor that's higher than most humans. Um, Advanced technology, mostly all to do with vibranium. He himself doesn't make it, his sister does, but that is a completely different issue. He has done so much for himself and actually helped out the Avengers in more ways than one. Um, and just an incredible powerhouse. Um, with all considering that his abilities themselves are not like explosive or planetary destroying, he's still able to hold his own against some of the greatest villains they've ever had. And that's why Black Panther's on this list, and that's why he's so high in this list. Not is his his technology, it's his suit, it's his superhuman abilities, all the above. All right, well, moving on to number four. Number four on this list is Spider Gwen. So Spider Gwen was introduced during the Spider Verse. In her particular universe, she's the one that gets bitten by the spider, not Peter Parker. She goes around being a superhero called Spider Gwen or Ghost Spider. I forgot what her Ghost Spider. That's what it was. It was Ghost Spider. We know her as Spider Gwen, but she was going by the name Ghost Spider. I knew there was a different name. So anyway, she was fighting crime. Blah blah blah. Her boyfriend Peter Parker wanted to join and tried to experiment on himself. It did not go well and turned himself into her universe's the Lizard. Um, they had to fight each other, and eventually he died. Um, it caused her to really change what she did in her life. Um, she became much more of a hero, and not to say she wasn't before, but she took it more seriously. It wasn't as much fun and games as she wanted it to be beforehand. She has all those superhuman spider abilities that Peter Parker has in the regular universe, but she has these like slight electric powers, not to the extent of Miles Morales, but very just a little bit more powerful than Peter Parker in the sense of just those abilities. But that being said, the reason why she's not higher on this list, even though she is number four, the reason why she didn't make the top two is because in the universe standpoint, she really hasn't done much in the regular Marvel universe, I guess you could say. Even though she's helped out many a times when there was a multi-universal threat, a multiverse threat, she's come in and helped, but she stays in her own universe. Not to say that's a bad thing. I'm just stating that that's kind of the reason why I didn't put her higher than what she is. But still, an excellent character, great story arc, and just, in my opinion, a great spider. Ghost Spider. I just can't get over that because I just everyone knows her as Spider Gwen, even though that's not her actual name in the comics or how she goes by. She literally goes by Ghost Spider. I just find that funny. All right, let's move on to number three. Number three is a lawyer. Um, her cousin is Bruce Banner. So it is Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk. Now I know what you're thinking. Why is she on this list? Why is she so high on this list, BCEO? Well, I actually like her character. She's everything the Hulk isn't. And what I mean by that is she is literally the embodiment of what the Hulk is supposed to be. She is a lawyer during the day. Um, she when she gains the ability to go She-Hulk, she has full control of herself for the most part. She can at times lose control, but overall she has much more control than Bruce Banner for sure. Um, she's superhuman strength, superhuman durability. The other thing that gets me is the stronger her regular body gets, exponentially the She-Hulk body gets stronger as well. So she starts working on herself. Not to say that other heroes don't. It's just interesting to really have it focused on the fact that she really focused on training her body to better her powers. Where we don't see that much other than with the X Men, and even then, they don't necessarily work on their body; they just work on their powers. And I know what you're thinking. Well, that's the same thing because her body is her power. But I just find it interesting that she's focuses so much on her ability to get stronger to help out the Avengers. She's also able to absorb gamma radiation, which makes her stronger, which also unfortunately affects her brain as well, which helps her lose a little bit of control. At one point, she can get as strong as the Hulk, um, but she, for the most part, overall, in most aspects of her life, keeps her full mental faculties. Um, in the universe when she becomes She-Hulk. Just a great powerhouse. She an excellent lawyer. Does great with the Avengers. Works with so many. She's been an Avengers. She's been an Avenger member, a Fantastic Four member, Heroes for Hire, the Defenders, the Fantastic Force, and even Shield. And she's just done so much, and that's why I think she definitely deserves to be higher. And I cannot wait for next year for She-Hulk to be on Disney Plus, because it's going to be awesome. All right, moving on to the top two. Number two on this list is Miles Morales. For those of you who don't know, that is a different Spider-Man. Miles Morales is considered to be the ultimate Spider-Man. Blah blah blah. There's so many different names. Um, he's bitten by a different type of radioactive spider that gives him not only just the regular spider powers that Spider-Man gets, but he also has this venom blast. It's kind of like an electrical um, pulse that's able to come out of his hands. He's called a venom blast. There's so many different things. It causes electrical pain to the body. Can cause paralyzation. Granted, temporary, but still. Um, he's on this list because he's awesome. But his character is also awesome too. He, trying to very similar to Peter Parker, trying to be a great hero and trying to find himself as that hero, um, and being able to do what's right. The difference between, he's got a lot of family who, his dad's a cop and his uncle is a criminal, the Prowler, I believe. Just a whole bunch of things he has to deal with, not only just as a kid but as a superhero, and that is just got to make it worse for himself, because he's got so much he has to deal with. He's been through so much, the Spider Verse. He's apparently been in the Secret Wars, which I wasn't aware of. He was obviously in the Civil War too, because that caused a huge issue because of Um, everyone thought he was going to kill Captain America. Um, Variety of things. I just like his character overall. He's awesome. Um, One of my favorites, hands down. Um, Loved playing him in the Spider-Man game that just recently came out. He's just awesome. I just really do like him. His other aliases are apparently Captain Universe and Spider Shadow. Shadow Spider. Not a fan of those. Um, I don't know why, but I'm just not a fan of those. But overall, he's just an awesome guy. And realistically, he also took over the mantle of Spider Man when Peter Parker was dead. Um, and that's a big thing. He tried to take on the mantle of Spider Man when Peter Parker was no longer, which just has got to be a tough shoes to fill. But definitely got some major help, which was excellent. All right, number one on this list. Well, I've talked about so many Spider characters. You got to figure out that number one is the original Spider-Man, Peter Parker. Peter Parker was always my favorite as a kid. Loved the Spider-Man animated show. Always loved Spider-Man. He's a wisecracking character. He um, loves to mess with his opponents. He's super intelligent. He's got all the abilities of a spider. He was able to create his web fluid um, formula. He's gone through a lot, apparently a lot of girlfriends as well. The killing of Gwen Stacy was a big one that hit everybody. He's just had to go through so much. Um, so he really had to deal with being a superhero by himself for a long time. And then he eventually became part of the Avengers and other things. But still, at the end of the day, was your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I mean, he's got his own Spider-Verse. I mean, they literally have a multiverse just for him. That's how awesome his character is. And has created some amazing Spider characters. Spider-Man Noir, Peter Porker, or Spider Ham, I should say. Um, oh my gosh, there are so many, and they're excellent. Just love him overall, and just happy that he's still around. But yeah, so those are my top 10 Marvel characters. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you think there's somebody better? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious to what you guys have to say. As always, if you like the content you see, please like and subscribe below. Other than that, I think this is it. So that means it's Beastly Eel signing out. Have a good night.